Now, Eliicott gives a bit of commentary on Isaiah 56, 3 4, as a set off to this apparent harshness towards the man who had been thus treated. We must read Isaiah, which we read, okay, in which a special promise is given to the eunuchs that keep God's Sabbaths and take hold of his covenant. And it says, within my house and within my walls a place, a name better than the sons of daughters, and everlasting names, and they shall not be cut off. A special calamity is, it was foretold to Hezekiah that some of the descendants of the eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon, such as Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in whom this prophecy was fulfilled, have ennobled the children that are of this sort forevermore. So like I said, it's important to understand, like, we have no means of knowing whether the eunuchs that were in the service of the kings of Israel or Judah, we don't know if there were any eunuchs at that point. We can read 1 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, chapters 22, chapters 8 and 2 Kings, 1 Samuel chapter 8. Were Israelites by birth or not. So we don't know whether they were birthed by eunuchs or whether they were castrated. Okay. However, we see a stranger, Ebed-Melech, the Ethiopian, who received a special blessing from Jeremiah 39, was a foreigner, and so very possibly were most, if not all, in Israel. So even though there were not many eunuchs that were directly from the Israelites, there could have been others there. So other foreigners in the land who may have been part of this sort of children, but then, held on to the Sabbaths of God and held on to the covenant of God, and like the promise was given that they will have a place within my house and within my walls. So, and as I mentioned, right, previously, that the covenant for Jehovah was circumcision. However, mutilation was a form of heathen devotion. And that's why we saw that in the heathen nations, where circumcision, completely separate, that was, retraction of the foreskin, was a covenant that God gave Abraham, and it covered forth. But in the New Testament, that was changed as well. But the mutilation was of the heathen. So, point of this, brothers and sisters, is that all have salvation, but the requirements need to be met. There has to be requirements, and in this case, we see that the Sabbath and the covenant had to be kept as a requirement, and even these who the curse was given are now allowed to enter into the congregation of the Lord. See, God is full of love, and he makes ways in every single position. He gives instruction, but he also gives salvation as long as requirements are met.